Today is Thursday. Kids are out of school, so we're gonna get to this and hopefully it's not too noisy. All right, so a few things that I want to talk about today. I am definitely going to be working on doing a long form video. It's been a long time since I've done those. Quite frankly, the short videos are a lot easier to make. After about like 3 or 4 minutes, I'm like, okay, well maybe I covered that topic enough. So that's why we're doing that with the long form. Um, Let me make sure I turn my phone on do not disturb. Oops, it's airplane, but hopefully that pretty much works it. But how are you all doing? Y'all come on in and start talking to me. I be talking to myself half the time. Y'all come on in. I know now that the weather has kind of done what it's supposed to do. We actually have some more weather that's supposed to be coming on Saturday, but I don't think it's going to be too extreme as it was the past couple of days. Which it wasn't nothing too crazy, but we don't really deal with weather like that. So anytime it comes, it kind of puts a stop on everything. Um, I know I'm ready to get out and get into some of the plant stores just to kind of see what they have and what they don't have. I know right now during this time of the year, it's not going to be a lot of good plants that's going to be in stores because of shipping. It's cold, um, and most people aren't ordering like that. I know I'm doing a little bit of I'm just taking a good look at what plants I may want and what plants I need to cut. This year, this spring and summer, I'm actually going to be propagating a lot of my plants. I talked about it earlier, but we're going to see if I go ahead and get that horticulture license. I only have to pay like $20 for the certificate. If so, then I'll be able to start sending plant cuttings and so forth. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet. I don't know if I'm going to have it so that if you order like shirts or clothes or something like that, just send a cutting for free. I still have to learn how to properly send one. I haven't done that before. I think that I'll be fine as long as I send it and it can get delivered the next day. I'm worried about if I send one and it takes like 4 or 5 days on what that looks like and what it inclines. Anyway, so today I want to talk to you all a little bit about just proper plant care. There are a few items that I've recently been using. I know I talked about them earlier, but these are a few things I just want to mention to you. Right here we have our SNS 203. We have just our alcohol, and this right here, of course, is a more chemical approach. You're talking about your systemic granules. Now, when it comes to plant care, first thing that I always tell people is you got to move at your own speed. Hey, how you doing? You have to move at your own speed. A lot of times we start comparing ourselves to other plants or the other plants that other people have, and we may not have the environment that's best suited for them to do great. So our plants just don't look the same. Um, so let's give you a couple of things to do. Number one is do your research on your plants before you go and just buy plants, even if it's off the clearance rack. And I know the clearance rack can be a little bit enticing. I like your shirt. Thank you. Thank you. Um, you want to do your research on your plant because you want to know exactly what plant it is that you're buying before you get it. Because some plants may require you to have a moss pole, some may require you to have to put it in a new type of soil, some may require high light, low light, by the window, some don't like drafts. There's so many things to consider when you are purchasing a plant. Now, I know it just looks like a $5 or $10 investment and it doesn't seem like you need to do as much as you do just because you see it for that price, but there are some things to do to make sure that your plant can actually thrive. Another part of your plant, or another tip I can give to you is once you do a repotting of a plant or once you buy your plant and you bring it home, allow it to sit and allow it to acclimate for a couple of days. I know as soon as you buy that plant, you're ready to go ahead and get straight to it, to build it or make it the way that you think that it's going to be able to do good in, but the best thing you can give that plant is just a nice place for it to settle and just get used to your humidity level, to get used to Hopefully you don't have to water a plant. I will say most of the time when you buy a plant, it's already been watered unless you buy it from the clearance section. And they have made it completely clear that they don't care nothing about that plant. Um, Next thing that you want to do after you get the plant home is come up with a day that you're going to get in there and actually clean it off before you just throw it into the room with your other plants. I will always say quarantine your plants when you get it. It doesn't have to be nothing too crazy. I used to say quarantine it for 2 weeks, but if you can quarantine your plant for at least a week, that would really be good. It allows you to make sure you don't spray any pests that you just bought to your other plants or in your room just in general. That's one sure way to take a whole room down is to add in a plant without inspecting it. It has pests and it gets everywhere. Um, so today I also did a video that we're going to be talking about overwatering and underwatering and what that looks like. A lot of times we underwater our plants because we think that we're giving it too much water. The best way for you to water your plant is to make sure when you water it that the water flows out from the top to the bottom. Now, there are several different ways for you to be able to water your plants. And you can also do bottom watering, which is when you take your plant and you just drop it in there and you put your water at the bottom of the pan. Like say I put water right here, I drop it in here and I allow it to sit in there for a couple of moments and then it'll be ready. The other, of course, is top watering. Now, there are also a way where you could just dunk your plant into the water. It just depends on really what your preferred method is. I know I do not like to do any other way other than top watering because it's just quicker and it makes sure I don't forget about it. When you do a lot of the bottom watering, you have to have time. Those plants can take anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes, maybe up to an hour for it to consume all the water that it really needs. I know with me, I'm quick to forget. Just this morning, I was supposed to be watering one of my plants, and I turned the shower on and started doing other stuff. Before I know, the water been running for 15 minutes. Luckily enough, I didn't have the plant underneath the water, but if that had been me watering the plant and I never was told, nobody's gonna walk by a plant, see it being watered, especially here in the plant room, and say something to me. So that plant could easily sit in there for 24 hours. Now, I've actually had a plant that did sit in water for a very long period of time. About a day and a half, almost 2 days, still did fine. Not suggesting that happens, could have just been a one-time thing, but that's how that rolls. I take the wins when I can get them. I do need to set up my humidifier. I know I went as long as I possibly could, but the leaf stucks are starting to get inedible. Every time I come into the room, there's a leaf that is stuck, and I know that it's just a humidity issue. I tried to not have to do it, but it does. Sometimes it happens. That is the truth. But other than that, though, guys, it's really nothing going on inside the room. We've been doing our periodic checks where we come into the room and we just take a look to see what needs to be taken care of. I always encourage you every single day, get inside your room or get inside your space and just inspect your plants and make sure that you aren't overlooking something. You know, I don't know how many times we accidentally have just made a mistake and have lost plants because of it. Watering your plants and you're not even putting the water into the mix, but maybe to the side of it. Maybe your plants have outgrown this pot to the point that all the roots are, it's just a whole pot of roots really with no soil, and that right there lets us know that it's time to repot our plants. We talked about it a couple of times on just because a plant has a lot of roots in it, it doesn't mean that it's time for it to be repotted, okay? Most plants, especially our tropical plants, they like to grow snug in there. So you're messing them up when you get in there and try to put them into a brand new base. Just remember, when you take a plant out of this pot and you put it into a bigger pot, it's going to spend a lot of its energy trying to fill the rest of that pot for it, okay? So if you take it out of a pot that's this big and you put it into a pot that's this size right here, number one, you're on a fast track to root rot. And why? Because your plant is going, when you water your plant, it's going to absorb all that soil in there. I mean, the soil is going to get wet and it's just going to sit there. The plant's just not big enough, the root system isn't strong enough to absorb that water effectively and get through there. What do you do when your plants get sick from another plant? That is a really good question. So, first thing that I do, I separate the main plant, okay? So the plant that's causing the problem, it needs to go. It needs to be removed. Second thing, I'm gonna get all the other plants that are affected by it. Now, the best thing to do depends on what kind of plant it is, because depending on your type of plant, it depends on the leaves, okay? Leaves size is what the best method preferred could be like. A plant like this right here, where you see that the leaves are small and might be a little hard to get in between. And by the way, this is a neon pothos and my green goddess. So the plant that I have back there against the window, the real big one, well, this is a baby plant of it that I took. But sorry, didn't mean to get away from the subject. If those plants get sick, the first thing to do though is separate. Second thing is to get the other ones. Third thing depends on what kind. So if it's a small plant, something like this, you could dip this into some water. Get you a nice solution. I actually been using for the last couple of months this 203 SNS. You can get it from Amazon. I talk about it a whole lot because it's actually one of the best products that I've got in years. I've tried all the other products, and I just get my plants just turn yellow. I'm mixing it the way they asked me to mix it. So oftentimes I would just put water and hand and treat my plants with, or I would try to use the systemic granules. But if those aren't, nothing could be applied to the actual leaf with those. You just had to put that at the bottom of the soil, so that still left the leaves a problem. And most of the time we have pests, the only way we identify them is they're on the leaves. So that kind of defeated the purpose unless you're just doing something like a real good dip that you can do with a plant like this. But check this out. Now, that's an easy plant we can go and dip. But you mean to tell me that I'll just use, let's use this for example, this one. Now it's on the wall. Let's go with our Philodendron Majestic. Right here. I can't take this plant and dip it in water. Now, I can put it into the shower and I can spray it off, but I can't just dip it because of the size of the plant. So again, how I treat my plants is according to really the size of them. Some plants are too big to move as well. If I get a plant, let's just bring you on in. Okay, you see my plants that are over there? If I get plants that are that size, there's no way in the world I'm picking up something of this size and dropping it in water. Those are my grow lights. So this right here, this is my Philodendron burrow marks. Okay, a plant this size, I don't want to pick it up because I don't want to lose a lot of it, but I'll pick it up. Let's see here. All right, so here we go. A plant this size is going to be very hard to be able to dip in water and wash out. So what I can do is put this plant this size into like the shower and spray it off. Now, again, what I would use would be my SNS spray. I would spray this plant completely and make sure that it has so much, drop this in here without breaking my plant. Okay. I would make sure that it has so much spray on it that it's actually dripping off. That way I can make sure that I'm getting basically everything. You also want to make sure when you're spraying the leaves, and we can use this plant for example, when you're spraying and cleaning the leaves, you want to spray the top, and you also want to flip and spray the bottom, okay? That's where a lot of pests like to hide at. And sometimes you can spray your plants off, and if you don't carefully inspect it, you can miss a couple of them, and all it takes is a couple for you to have a big outbreak. I used to think that mealybugs just would not go away. It's not that they wouldn't go away, it's just that I just didn't run the whole step of properly treating them. So you got to be committed to it, okay? Number one, you have to be committed if you're going to take care of your plants, because if you aren't 100% committed to it, it's going to always be something that's coming up that you feel like it's going to defeat you, okay? So that's what I would recommend that you do if you have one plant that gets sick. Think about the size of it and then act accordingly. You can always spray a plant off and wipe it off though, but always separate that plant. And make sure before you bring it back in or you introduce it to any of your other plants that it doesn't have any pests. I don't want you to get a plant that's sick and you bring it into the room or you bring it into your other plants and boom, you have a situation. Next thing is, I would say too, in regards to that, Procrastination. That's why we do a whole lot of our checking and we walk into here. You want to make sure you don't procrastinate because it usually causes the symptoms of the plant to become a lot worse. And that is pretty much all I have on that part. You remember when we did our repotting the other day, we did our propagating of our Scadapsis exotica where we cut the plant all the way down, and I told you just get you some saran wrap and that'll work. Well, that's what I have going on here to allow it to build its own humidity. Now, is it perfect and is some air escaping out? Absolutely, but you know what? It's not like it's mandatory for me to do this anyway for the plant to do. It's just giving it a little bit of extra help. Also, too, guys, I'm kind of going back and forth on debating on whether or not I should do my lives later on in the afternoon time to allow people who may have to go to work or have things to do to go. So if you can, I know most people watch these videos a lot later in the afternoon. Could you comment down there at the bottom and let me know what a good time would be for you to be able to get on and interact? Because the whole purpose of the lives is to be able to interact with you all, to answer questions, for you to ask me some questions, and just to overall talk and have a good time about the plants. And if I never get to do that, it kind of just feels like I'm just making a video and just putting it out. 4 o'clock is not a good time to get on here because that doesn't work good for my schedule. It would have to be later on in the afternoon, like something like 8. I'm thinking about 8 p.m. Maybe that could be good. I know I do have other obligations with the kids and so forth, so I want to make sure that I can commit to the actual time and not have to keep getting on and say, hey, I'm running late. Hey, I can't do this. So definitely looking at something like that. I also was looking at early in the morning as well, too. I don't know if many of you all get up in the morning time, if you're having your cup of coffee, if you watch YouTube. Most of us probably when we get up in the morning time. I'm a morning person, so let me rephrase that. I'm a morning person as long as I'm doing what I want to do in the morning. Okay, so that means me getting up at my own speed, making my own coffee, but I don't want to hop on early in the morning and start talking if, again, I'm just going to be talking to myself. I just want to make sure that we have a good little, that's a spoon. Just want to make sure we have a good time while we're here in the room. Another thing that I would like for you all to do, for some of you all that are watching, is put down there at the bottom what you want to talk about next week. That will help me to be able to plan, have some things kind of laid out so we know what to do, so we don't waste time. Well, today is Thursday. Usually what I do on Thursday is that I go into my cabinet over there and I take a look at those plants just to kind of make sure they're doing all right. Last night, because I wanted to be productive, I actually got in here and did a couple of plants. Now I'm going to talk about a lot of these plants in a couple of videos that I recorded, but I'm just giving you just a look of some plants right now over here. Now, one thing that you will see me do in a couple of the videos, I've been using spraying alcohol right here. Right here. Whenever I find out something new and it's affordable and it's something that's very convenient for everybody to get access to, then I always talk about it. So rubbing alcohol, you put it into a spray bottle and you spray it on your plants. Now, you don't want to spray it on your plants if you have your grow lights going, so make sure you do that later on in the afternoon time or early in the morning, and make sure it's dry before the grow lights come on, because you know if you have liquid, chemicals, whatever on top of your plant leaves, when those grow lights come, they usually cause some type of burnage to the top. So I don't want you saying, Shawn caused me to lose my plants. No. I gave you the disclaimer. And remember, every advice that I give to you is always optional. It's not law. One plant in particular that I would like to talk about is going to be the Scadapsis pea sun. At some point in time, I'm going to have to do a repot. I'm just a little bit worried that if I do, then the plant won't make it. And this is a really, really beautiful plant. This is a Scadapsis, very beautiful plant, grows to be pretty big. You can see the roots are already starting to come out. And I just put this plant in complete sphagnum moss and a little bit of perlite. Do I need the perlite in here? Probably not, but I'm a little extra, so I don't mind doing the work. Scadapsis are very, very easy plants. I definitely call those beginner plants. Do you have more than 100 plants? You know, I actually should do a video on that. I know I have over 100 plants. The question is, do I have over 200? That's the question. And I really think that I passed 200 last year. Now, when we do the count, when I'm counting plants, does it count if I have a plant, like 3 of the same plant, or does that just count as one plant? I want to make sure I don't cheat when I do the count. So the question is, does one plant only count as one plant, or if I have 3 of the same plants, do they count as 3 plants? I mean, I think it should count as 3 plants because, I mean, I care for the 3 plants. I don't care for one and it automatically rolls over to the second one. You tell me. And I really need to figure out something here. I need another grow light. The grow light, so I shouldn't say grow light 2, but I have to get another cord or something to put on here. I don't know if you can see it, but I have a cord right here and it's dangling here. It gets in the way of me trying to get in between the window, but this cord is attached to a few lights that are right here. Which brings me to the subject. If anybody know any good lights, grow lights, that like portable grow lights that you could stick up under for the plant shelves, let me know. I know that, I believe it's Barina, I believe I'm pronouncing it right. I know that they have some really good affordable lights that I've been seeing. I think they're the T6 or the T7. They're supposed to be like really, really good. Hey, how you doing? They're supposed to be like really good. And if I can get my hands on them, and if they are for an affordable price, I will get them. Don't recommend them if you haven't used them, because I'm going to ask you how to use them and how it's been going. Don't kill my plants. I know that Barina, and it starts with an S. I forgot what the other light company. They're like very, very popular. I just want grow lights to grow my plants. That's all I want. What's going on, Vimby? What you been up to? Do you have time to go to the plant store? No, I actually do not have time to go to the plant store because the kids are off. And although I love my kids to death and they are very patient with me, I can tell when I take them to the plant store, they are ready to go. Now, my son isn't going to go with me at all, but when my daughter gets there, she is not interested in looking at all the plants. She'll play it along, but I took her one time, just one time is all it takes. I took her over the summertime last year to one of my favorite nurseries, and the mosquitoes got to her legs. I told her to wear pants. She didn't want to listen to me. She decided to wear shorts. They tore all the way up, and now anytime I mention anything about going to the plant store, she freezes up. So that the mosquitoes ruined the experience for me with that. She's a really good sport with it. My son don't really care too much about the plants. He does know enough about he knows like the monsteras and your philodendrons, and he'll ask random questions like, hey dad, is this or that? My daughter, she's pretty good with it. I bought her a monstera to put inside her room, and it did pretty good. It's just we kind of messed up. Her bed has like LED lights and all of that, and now she's more interested in having her room be kind of dark so the light can show. So now the plants won't do good in there. So we just decided to keep these plants down there at the bottom. Hey Journey. Other than that though, guys, we really don't have too much to talk about in here. I'm just up here just talking to you at this point. We've already covered all of our two ingredients that I use for any type of pest. We've already done like our walk around. I'm gonna tell you what I can do though. Since we've already talked about all the main things, how about we just wrap up with doing just a tour around in the room, and then we're gonna chuck it up for the day. Okay? Let's get it. Did not mean to do that. All right. Let's start from over here, guys. All right, we're gonna go here. This, of course, is the section that we have our sick plants in, which are recovering pretty well. Over here, we have our moonlight, which is loving the window. Next, we have a bunch of trailing plants, mainly philodendrons, starting over here with our epipinarium And then we have our philodendron mican. And these leaves right here, if you've ever touched a mican before, they're very soft. They feel fuzzy almost. Florida green, that's a few noticeables. And down here, I just want to bring attention to the calathea and to the stromanthe. Now, the calathea yesterday was curled all the way up, and that usually gave me a good indicator about it. I've been thinking about buying a moonlight. Yes, they are very, very easy. They grow pretty fast. And this is my second moonlight that I've had. The first one, it would have made it, but it didn't make it. Some almost, a whole bunch of things that came into that. But the second one, I got it right. Your plants are really nice. Thank you. Statulona that I've been growing just out of water. This is a cutting. So this plant right here is a cutting from the plant that's over here. Right there, I cut that. I guess since we're over here, we'll talk about, this is the Monstera penitria. No, I'm tearing that up. Then we have our Esqueleto, our Statulona, our Monstera Thai constellations. That's two of them in the back, and this one right here in the front that I'm pointing at, that's a Monstera albo. Over here are our three Monstera Thai constellations, and you can kind of just get a pigment of the size of them. This is my hand in size, so you can see they can get to be pretty big. Over here is the orange marmalade, which the leaf right here, it comes out to be like a reddish orange. Let me see as it turns. And this leaf right here, you can see the red part, but as it starts to get older, the leaf will turn to a dark green. The burrow, we talked about that one. It's just a big grower. At some point in time, I am going to have to repot that plant. This is a Pluto over here. And I don't know if you can see I love the way that this plant, the leaves are spiked up there. And it comes in like a burgundy color over there, and then it eventually reverts to that dark green. Our philodendron bronze, this is our red emerald that we have, and I can't wait for that one to continue to grow up to the top of there. Our Madridians, we have our one that doesn't fenestrate, and then we have our one that does, followed by our philodendron. This is the Japanese white knight. And then over here to the left, that's just going to be the regular white knight. Now, I believe that you can take a look at it and just kind of see that Japanese white knight just has a little bit more to offer. I bought them both at the same time, so it has nothing to do with the age of them. It's just that one's just a little bit better. Now, my favorite one is the strawberry shake right here. This was one of my wish list plants that I bought last year. And I talk about it a couple of times how this plant was going for $140 in the store. And I came home and I was telling my wife that I really wanted to get it. She was just like, you said you was going to save some money. And I was like, yeah, but I want it. She was like, well, if it means that much to you, but I think that's crazy. And I didn't get it because I didn't want to hear. But I ended up catching a plant on the auction for $50. And this plant was double the size and even here. Is that an easy plant to care for? It's an easy plant because it's a philodendron. However, this plant doesn't grow as easy and quick as my other philodendrons. It's a little bit flimsy. The leaves are prone to just a lot of unstuck leaves, and it kind of just turns and grow everywhere. You know what happens sometimes when they over hybrid a plant, it just really just takes a lot of the natural ways for it to be able to grow. I got to go. Okay, well, you have a great day. Our gardenia right here, which I broke that leaf right there at the end. It was stuck inside of there, so I popped it out, and that's the result of it. But that's why I love a philodendron. Take a look at this. This gardenia has been through. This is what the new leaf looked like. And you remember when we was on live, this plant fell. You can see them right there. That leaf should be gone, but it's been hanging on there for about 2 months now. Over here, this is my easy section, trailing plant section. I need to get it some water over there in the corner. And you can see the Scindapsus over there. That's the Exotica and the trailing. And these are our Brazil, followed by the Rio over here. And I think that's pretty much a quick little tour without giving a tour. Ben, I would definitely say for you, man, the philodendron strawberry shake is going to be a piece of cake for you, though. in regards to what you already grow, yeah, this would be very easy. Why not get it? Every leaf is different on here too, so that's the cool thing about it. You never know what you're gonna get. Never know. Just put that on there. And that's pretty much all I have on there. I would say, guys, definitely. The Pink Princess wasn't easy for me. No, the Pink Princess is not an easy plant. I cannot stand the Pink Princess. But it's one of those plants I will probably just keep on buying until I'm determined to get it right. But yeah, you've heard me talk about that Pink Princess several times. That was the first plant. Very crazy. When I first got into the hobby, I bought a Pink Princess. And that's when you was getting a little bitty Pink Princess this size. It probably had one leaf and a long stem. I paid $140 for it. Yeah. And it died in like 3 weeks. Learned my lesson. I went back and bought another one. I would say learn my lesson, but this one I spent $75 on, but it was a 2-leafer. Died. Learned my lesson because I said, forget a Pink Princess. I'm not buying them no more. I don't care about them. And at first I thought it was just me and my care. But then all the rest of my plants started surviving and the Pink Princess didn't. So I was like, it's the Pink Princess. So I went back, bought another one, died. But at that point in time, the Pink Princess had dropped significantly in price. You remember, we started seeing like Pink Princess Galaxies and Pink Princess Splash and whatever else they wanted to name the Pink Princess just so it could sell. When those prices started coming down, the one Pink Princess that I have to this day is the one I bought from the grocery store for 20 bucks. So that should tell you. Pink Princess, I think they've just been so, I know that's not the right way, hybriding. I know that's not the right word, but I feel like they've just been so overly produced that sometimes if they're coming from, I guess, a reputable seller, they can do pretty well. But for me, they still are a tricky plant. I don't like plants who you really got to pay attention to the humidity. You really got to pay attention to the soil. You really just have to rotate the plant. You got to move the light. Like when a plant has to do that much, to me, it's just another kid at this point. And that's just a little bit more than what I want to do. I'll look into getting the milkshake. Yes, look into getting the milkshake. You won't be disappointed. I don't think, let me see. I'll tell you what, Van. If you do not find one when does it start getting warm? It starts getting warm around March or April. If you do not find one in March or April, let me know. Hit me up on Instagram. Well, we'll be talking before then, of course. But if we don't find one, and we'll see what we can do. I don't know how to sing cuttings. I said that a couple of times, but if I can find some nodes on there, which I just went and looked, I did see some nodes, then I'll get you a little cutting, and I'll get it going. So that way you can get some type of roots in there, and then I'll just send it, and we'll go from there. I'm not going to do nothing with that plant. I'm not interested in having 3 or 4 different versions of it. I'm just going to cut it off. But we'll talk about that later when we get there. All right, guys, so with that being said, though, unless you all have a couple of questions, then I'm going to go ahead and get caught up on some work. The plan is on YouTube, I plan to get like 2 to 3 shorts pushing out a day, and they're going to be just on the videos. Appreciate that. I found one website, but they're sold out, of course. Yeah, and don't order. Well, I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but yeah, some shippers is just real. You never know what you're gonna get in the wintertime. And if you go into the store, especially your local nurseries, they're gonna overcharge you for it. You know, that's just how it goes. But it's how much you're willing to pay. Now, if it's a reasonable overcharge, I'll do that. Like if a plant is normally being sold for $50 and I go into your local nursery and it's for $75. You know, it's like, dang, really? I can make it work. But if that plant's $50 and you in here trying to charge $135 for it, that's not going to work for me. And it's very rare that does happen, that I see a very just overpriced. Luckily enough, in my town, they don't do that. And if they do that, I don't pay attention to it, and I just keep on moving and never purchase the plant. But usually when I go into like my nurseries, then I'm intentional about it. When I first used to go into the nurseries, I would go in there and just be all over the place. But if you go in there all over the place, you're going to spend money all over the place. But anyway, guys, with that being said and done, if you have any questions or anything, put them down at the bottom, and I'll definitely talk about them on our next live. Okay. Y'all have an amazing day.